In this video, we're going to cover the Spring Boot project structure. So remember, we already created a new project using a Spring Initializer. So that actually created a Maven project for us. And so now we'll actually explore the project structure, because remember I said we'll actually cover all of those files that are created. So we'll do that in this video. So first off is that Spring Boot makes use of the standard Maven directory structure. So for the source main Java, that's where you actually place your Java source code. For source main resources, this is where you'll have like your properties files or config files that's used by your application. And then under source test Java, that's where you can place your unit testing code. So Spring Boot makes use of the Maven standard directory structure. Now, there were some other files here that were a bit interesting here. You may have seen these Maven W files, and you probably wondered, what's up with that, or what are those? Well, those are Maven wrapper files. So the Maven W or the Maven wrapper files, they allow you to run a Maven project. And the really cool thing about it is that there's no need to have Maven installed or have it present on your path. So what these files will do is they'll say, hey, if the correct version of Maven is not found on your computer, then it'll actually automatically download the correct version of Maven from the internet and then actually run Maven. So it'll basically do some smarts there. It'll automatically download it and then run it. So there's actually two files that are provided for you. You have one of them that's the mavenw.cmd file. That's for Microsoft Windows. So you can use that to say Maven W and then, normal Maven stuff like clean compile test or whatever. And then there's the mavenw.sh, and this is for Linux or Mac systems. So here you could say /mavenw, clean compile test, and so on. So that's the basic idea here of the mavenw files. They're basically wrapper files that'll automatically download and run the correct version of Maven for you. Now, if you already have Maven installed on your computer, then there's actually no need for the Maven W files. So you can safely ignore those files or delete them. They're not required. So in that case, since you already have Maven locally installed, you simply use Maven as you normally would. So here you'd say Maven clean compile test. So notice here, there's no Maven W. You simply use Maven by itself. All right, so that's the Maven W commands or the Maven wrapper files. Next, we have the actual POM file. So the POM file includes the information that you entered at the Spring Initializer website. So for example, you gave information about the group ID, the artifact ID, and so on. That information's automatically in your POM file that was generated. And then also you'll have a collection of Maven dependencies in the file too. And you'll notice here that they're called starters. So these are Spring Boot starters, which is really just a collection of Maven dependencies. And these are the compatible versions for these dependencies. So for example, we have this Spring Boot starter web. Well, this is really a collection of dependencies. So it's a collection of Spring Web, Spring Web MVC, Hibernate Validator, Tomcat, JSON. So what this does is that it saves the developer from having to list all of the individual dependencies, and also make sure you have compatible versions. So kind of think of it as kind of like a one-stop shop for grabbing some dependencies for your given application. And it makes it really, really easy. I like this approach. And then also in the Maven POM file, there's a section here for the Spring Boot Maven plugin. So you'll actually see that at the bottom of the POM file. So here, this plugin is used to package a executable jar file that we can run from the command line, or to create a war archive file. And you can also use this plugin to easily run the application here. So at the bottom, I simply say Maven W package, and then I say Maven W Spring Boot run. So I'll actually run the application. So that's the idea of the Spring Boot Maven plugin for packaging and also for running. Now, if you already have Maven installed on your computer, then you don't need the Maven W stuff. You simply say Maven package and then Maven Spring Boot run. So totally up to you based on your environment and based on your configuration. Okay, so now some of the source code, right? So we saw a small bit of the source code, but I didn't really go into details on it. So when you generate your actual project, you have this main Spring Boot application class that's actually created by the Spring Initializer. And then we also saw in the previous video, we created a REST controller and we called it Fun REST Controller. And we use the FunRest controller to expose a very simple REST API. Now that's enough for now. We'll move ahead to the next video and we'll discuss application properties.